It is flat out unbelievable. Just the fact that I keep continuing to try to tell people not to go the cheap route when it comes to daycare for their young children. And so you're supposed to pay for a reputable daycare. I still believe that's what you're supposed to do. But it angers me when I see stories like this, when you have these people who still work in these daycares and they take advantage of your kids. You know what? I'm starting to think that people like this maybe should get a life sentence in prison, because you cannot be this level of dumb to think that you're going to work in a daycare that is going to be accredited by the state, has to get inspections, you have to go through a background check. These people do all that they can to try to make sure that they hire safe people. At the end, it is still up to the actions of the person. So this is really no casting aspersions on the daycare, but nonetheless, people like this have to pay for hurting kids. But before we get into the details, let me give you a disclaimer if you've never been to my channel before. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And so we're getting this particular source from Daily Mail. So Daily Mail did really good with this one, so thank you and shout out to them. But this fool that you guys see on my screen, Texas takes an L, or is it like this? I don't remember. Is it L or is it L? I don't remember. A Texas daycare worker has been arrested after security footage allegedly revealed her to be carrying out a horrifying pattern of abuse against several toddlers. This is not an isolated thing, okay? Her name is Catherine Guzazuki, some bullshit. I can't pronounce it, whatever. 44 years old, is accused of physically assaulting a total of 6 two-year-old children more than 100 times over the course of several months. 6, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. 6 kids. That means she is just an evil bitch. Period. She's hateful. She's ugly. She's dangerous. And anybody who can treat innocent little babies like this, I just don't see any reason for them to ever have freedom ever again. You shouldn't be a parent. You shouldn't be in society. I'd hate to imagine I could imagine nobody probably likes her at all. 6 two-year-old children, and they said more than 100 times. And actually, I think it was, what if they say 145 times? Why don't we just put the specific number? On top of that, it's even more confusing. Let me turn this off so it doesn't buzz. Even more confusing for me is every daycare, especially accredited daycares, should have security cameras. How the hell does this go on for so long and nobody noticed? You don't check the tapes. You don't check your workers at least a couple, like once a week, every day? I don't know. She faces 6 counts of injury to a child with the intent to cause bodily harm. The alleged abuse at Punkin Doodles Daycare in Lindale, Texas, Punkin Doodles, Doodles, 200 miles north of Houston, so this is around the Harris County area, just so y'all know, has been described by authorities as calculated and deliberate. It was only uncovered after a daycare employee reviewed security camera video last month and determined the alarming behavior. So they should be reviewing video all the time because people's kids matter. So you should be giving a damn and should be paying attention. To me, that just makes more sense. The footage sees this woman, I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, Catherine Gazika, whatever, kicking a defenseless 2-year-old boy in his lower back as he was laying on the floor. Shocked by what she saw, the unnamed employee told the boy's father, who immediately contacted Smith County Sheriff's Office. What investigators discovered next was even more disturbing. Let's keep going. Hours of security footage allegedly showed Catherine Gazuka targeting toddlers in systematic campaign of cruelty. She was seen kicking children in the back, standing her body weight on their little bitty hands, pulling them from their beds while they were napping, and dragging them by their arms to a changing table. How many of y'all would have been enraged to a point to where maybe you might have wanted to do something to this woman if this would have been your baby? Because I'm going to tell y'all right now, as God is my witness, it would have been some furniture moving in that MFer. I can't promise you what I would have did if I would have found out, because y'all know how much I love my daughter. Let me find out that somebody treated my daughter that way. I'm not so sure that I would have been on the phone with police. I can't promise you that would have been my first mind. But for those, I do not advocate for vigilante justice. Call the police. Don't do what I think. Do the logical thing. Don't take the law into your own hands, because that ain't going to do nothing but get y'all in trouble. But if you feel that way in your heart, I totally understand. If you would have took it into your own hands, I get it. I understand. All right? We got to tell these stories, because if we don't tell them, if we don't speak about this, nobody's going to know that this stuff is going on, right? So I need everybody to share these stories so more people can see this type of stuff, okay? Now, in several instances, Catherine Gazuka allegedly forced children to stare at a wall instead of television while aggressively holding their heads down during diaper changes. Gazuka had been an employee at the daycare since September 2023, with the abuse occurring between July and October. She was fired immediately after the assaults came to light after Melanie Dawn Law, who owned Pumpkin Doodles Daycare Center, reviewed the footage. The police were contacted, who confirmed Kazuka had engaged in abusive behavior on at least 134 separate occasions. And nobody at the daycare noticed this? I agree with you, Don. She said the videos need to be reviewed every day, and I 100% agree. There's got to be some better policy in play that you should have noticed. You should have caught this 145 times on 134 separate occasions. To think that I hired someone and trusted could harm innocent children in this way is beyond comprehensible, Law said. Following the revelations, Law ended up selling the daycare facility to a new owner who now plans to reopen it under a different name in December. So look, here's my thought on that. To the daycare owner, it's already done. You've already sold your business. I might not have done that, because that is not your fault. That you hired somebody to the best of your knowledge that agreed and said that they weren't going to do something, and then they went ahead and did it. Let me say that again. Because what do we call that? Let me look up. What is the definition of a lie? Maybe I don't know what it is. What is the definition of a lie? It says a lie is a statement that is known or believed to be false, but is made with the intention to deceive. The speaker of the lie implicitly promises that the statement is true, which is a breach of trust. Lies are different from figurative rhetoric like metaphors and hyperboles, which are not intended to mislead. So that is the definition of a lie. Like, I know a lot of people were paying attention to that presidential pardon that recently happened, where they said he's not technically lying, even though he said he was not going to do something, and then he did it. Right? Y'all know what I'm talking about? I ain't trying to get political. I'm just trying to get to the true definition of what a lie is, because apparently there's some people out there on the left that don't understand what the dictionary definition of lie is. So here's my thing. This person got hired and said that they would take care of children. That's one thing that they swore and promised to do. You abuse that privilege and hurt these children, which went totally against what you promised to do, which means you lied to that company, you lied to those parents, you lied to those kids. That's a goddamn lie. That's what a lie is. Whoopi Goldberg. Oh, excuse me. Whew. You know, I had a cold. I recently was Whoopi from The View. Excuse me. Since there's some people out there that don't understand what a lie actually is, even though the definition of it has not changed in 413 years. But I digress. Smith County Sheriff Larry Smith described the evidence as disturbing, but noting how, fortunately, none of the children suffered serious physical injuries. We're looking at minor to medium bruising, but that in no way diminishes the trauma that these children endured. This individual betrayed the trust of the families and inflicted pain on those who could not defend themselves. Is that not what I just said? That is the definition of a lie. So cut that out. Sitting at that old Whoopi Goldberg, because I think she's getting a little, what do you call that? Senile in the brain, right? Sheriff Smith also revealed that detectives are continuing to review hours of remaining video footage to ensure all incidents are documented. So I'm pretty sure that they're going to find that she did some other bull crap on there, okay? So they need to add more charges in there. We've charged her with 6 counts of injury to a child, but we will pursue additional charges if further evidence comes to light, which I'm sure they will have to. Now, going forward, and detectives are combing through hours of video to see if there are any other forms of abuse that have not been reported. Gazuka is currently being held in the Smith County Jail on a $450,000 bond, so just shy of a $500,000 bond, so that sounds about right. The parents of the victims and members of the community have expressed outrage and heartbreak, demanding justice for all of the children involved. As the investigation continues, officials have assured the public that steps are being taken to ensure such incidents never happen again. And the reason I was bringing that up earlier is because I don't think this woman should have to sell her daycare. How many of y'all agree with that? This woman should not have had to sell her daycare because she unintentionally hired a liar and a dumbass. She should not have to lose her business, her livelihood. All it means is that we have to be more diligent and just pay more attention, watch the security cameras maybe a little more often, and just pray and hope that you don't end up hiring somebody that should not be around kids. So, with that being said, let me give you guys the fair usage before I show any news videos. Let's get it. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. And y'all forgive me, I'm just getting over being sick, so we're going to try to get through this together. If y'all would do me a favor and please click that thumbs up. I would hope that more people can share videos like this. Share them in your favorite true crime groups so that we can all grow together and expose stories like this. So shout out to Law and Crime. I'm going to show a little bit of their video. I cut out a small snippet, so I'm not going to show too much of this, but I want y'all to hear what they had to say about this. So here we go.
First off, Jesse, what happened to these innocent kids at Pumpkin Doodles Daycare is horrific. I mean, it is just heartbreaking when we first learned that this abuse had been going on for so long and happened so often to multiple children. Thankfully, the individual caregiver is in jail and will never be allowed to work with kids in Texas again. But this entire situation is a reminder to parents across the nation. Child abuse and neglect is happening.
Now, the sheriff's office said in the affidavit that it, quote, was apparent that Guzieska's actions were random, intentional, unprovoked, violent in nature, and done for the sole intent of inflicting pain. Russell, that is very important language and a very important description. What do you take away from that?
You know, when I hear that and when we see these types of things happening, the most alarming thing is, how did this go on for so long? What sort of culture was in place that the other caregivers either allowed this to happen and didn't say anything. The director and owner allowed this to happen and didn't say anything, because the degree of what you're describing and what we've seen happened here is just so horrific and alarming for such a long period of time. There absolutely should be these criminal charges being brought, and to the fullest extent of the law.
I haven't seen it, but there's no lawsuit that's filed as of yet. But you're suggesting that it's only, what, a matter of time?
It should be. I mean, we hope that when something traumatic happens to a child at a daycare, that it's not just reported to the police and to the state, but they're actually held accountable civilly, because the criminal system is just punishing the individual. But with what happens to the child, what happens to accountability for negligence, that has to be done through the civil aspect. And so while I'm not aware that there are any lawsuits or any attorneys that have been retained for this yet, there absolutely could and should be one here to hold them accountable and make sure to expose this and bring a bigger light to it. In that small of a town and that small of a community, this should never happen. And if something's not done about it, it's going to open up a door that, hey, this is going to be okay and acceptable behavior, which it is absolutely not.
Let me ask you this, if this complicates it at all. The owner of this daycare, Ms. Law, who I mentioned before, she spoke with Texas news outlet KSLA and told them that she has sold the daycare to a new owner. They're going to be reopening it this month under a new name. Does that complicate anything?
Not at all. Even though this owner, who was also the director of the daycare, sold the daycare when all this came to light, Pumpkin Doodles can and should still be held accountable for its failures. They can't just escape justice by simply selling off the company. We see people try to do that. That's not the way it works. Consulting with an experienced daycare and child injury lawyer like our team, that's what we do. We have experiences in cases like this where an owner or a daycare owner closed down the daycare, even if they didn't try to sell it off. That is not a way to escape justice as well. They can't get away with it. There's things in place for that. There's also insurance coverage that's in place for these things. That doesn't just simply go away because you sold the company or closed down your daycare.
All right. Well, let's see what happens. I'll tell you, Guzieska currently behind bars, reportedly on a $450,000 bond. No word yet on when she'll be back in court, but we'll see. Just another horrifying case of alleged child abuse that we're seeing in these daycares. But Russell, really, thank you so much. Russell Button, really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you.
Daycare worker is arrested, charged with injuring children. Take a look at your screen tonight. 44-year-old Catherine Guzieska is in jail facing 6 counts. According to an arrest affidavit, about a month ago, the father of a 2-year-old called the Smith County Sheriff's Office to report his son had been physically abused at the Pumpkin Doodles Daycare off County Road 4188 in Lindale. Guzieska was a teacher there. The man told investigators his wife works there and became aware of a video of her allegedly kicking the child in the back. After that incident, the daycare owner says she reviewed more surveillance video and found other incidents with other children. She fired that teacher and has been cooperating with authorities. Now, in the affidavit, sheriff's investigators say the assaults appeared to random, unprovoked, and intentional.
All right, let's keep going.
Just into our news desk, a Lindale daycare worker in jail after arrest documents say that she kicked a toddler in her care. You're looking right now at 44-year-old Catherine Guzieska working for the Lindale Pumpkin Doodles preschool, where a coworker reportedly found video evidence of her kicking a 2-year-old in the back. After the child's father reported her to the Smith County Sheriff's Office, Guzieska was reported to be seen on camera kicking 6 children in about 100 incidents from July to October. The evidence caused Guzieska to be arrested on October 30th on 6 charges of injury to a child, and she remains booked in the Smith County Jail. Now, Lindale Pumpkin Doodles Preschool is fully cooperating with law enforcement in their investigations.
Here's what I always think about, and maybe my mind is just a little bit weird, but I'm going to kind of share with y'all the way that my mind works. Because I look at children as very small, very frail, very innocent. They cannot speak for themselves nor defend themselves against anybody, okay? And I think about that and I say, this woman on 145 different times, 135 different occasions, kicked and abused children. And I think about this, and I look at this German woman, or whatever the hell she is, Russian, I'm going to call her Russian, and I say to myself, I wonder if I grabbed her, drug her by the arm, I'm at work, right? Y'all catch me on videotape grabbing her and dragging her by the arm like I'm Diddy, hashtag no Diddy, right? And y'all catch me on video surveillance kicking this woman 100 times on different occasions. What would y'all think about me if I kicked a grown ass woman who's 44 years old, who was getting on my damn nerves, kicked her 100 times, and you caught me on videotape 100 times? What do you think society would say about that? But we're two grown adults. She is older than me. I could even use the excuse to say she's older than me. She was picking on me, y'all. And y'all caught me on tape kicking and beating on her 100 different times. Why is that in our society that we care more about what adults do to each other, or a man doing to a woman, or a black man doing to what's perceived as a white woman, while that would make international news, not even national news? Y'all get where I'm going from? From here to there, y'all get where I'm coming from? That makes national news, but her hurting and kicking and beating little bitty babies apparently doesn't matter to anybody. A toddler. But you care about them when they're grown, but you don't care about them when they're those taller than the size of your knee. To me, I think that's why what we do is so important, is because we're going to stress the importance of why this shit matter, why it's important, and going to continue to keep exposing the fact that people are ignoring this, shadow banning our channels, or whatever the hell else they're doing. How we get so many people that know about the AFC, but nobody can find our videos, which is absolutely ridiculous. I don't understand it. I know people are sharing it. I know people are talking about it. But why is it that they're trying to silence our voices? I don't know. But all I know is all we can do is just keep doing the work. Continue to keep sharing these videos. Continue to keep getting people like this longer prison sentences, and advocate for justice on behalf of all of our babies. Keep those 6 children in your prayers. Keep all of those children that were at the daycare in your prayers. And for anybody who watched this and was in that room, saw her do this, didn't do anything, they need to get arrested. They need to get investigated. They need to have their jobs lost and their lives ruined also. But again, if the owner knew about it, then that's completely different. Then maybe she does need to give up her business. But I truly don't think that she knew. I really don't. But that's just what I believe in my heart of hearts. Keep the children in your prayers and keep these people locked up in prison, okay? Thank you guys very much.